So let's take a look at Auditing and Inspection Level 3. I've delivered a number of auditing courses in the past. I've delivered high-field courses and obviously this STC course that we created and have accredited. I deliver the BRC Internal Auditor course and of course all the lead auditor courses as well. So I can tell you with confidence that this is a fantastic course. This actually includes all the best bits, okay? I'm not just saying this. I've included this on our list of most popular courses to go through today, rather than the BRC Internal Auditor course, because this one is better. Okay, you know I'm a fan of BRC. If you were here this morning, you'll know that I sing their praises. The courses are good, the standards are good. But this course is a fantastic level 3 for internal auditors. This and I can say that with absolute confidence, it covers all GFSI requirements if you are auditing in the food industry. But as I said earlier this morning when I was introducing the topic for this afternoon, this course isn't only specific to the food industry. So anyone in any industry can be qualified to this course, and this qualification will enable you with confidence to audit any business, any systems, any processes, because it's the methodology and the style that we're talking about here. Yeah, we're giving you the tools, we're equipping you. Okay, so just to take a little look at what's involved in the course. This is a one-day course, but it's comprehensive, it's packed, okay? We've got an introduction. We look at standards and benchmarking. This module is really answering the question of what are we auditing against? Yeah, what is an audit if not a measure? It's a measure, isn't it? You're trying to benchmark against a standard, and so you've got to ask yourself the question: what's the standard? What are we auditing against? And so we talk about that so that you can answer that question and make that assessment prior to any audit you do, regardless of what industry it is. It might be a process you're auditing. It might be people and compliance. You might be looking for competence. There are so many different things. And so we explore this as a subject in itself. The next thing that we look at are auditing techniques. Okay, and there are lots of different techniques and approaches. And I've included some slides here just to give you a taste of that. So we give you the tools for the job. But then that's only part of the picture, isn't it? The next part of the picture is you yourself and your competency as an auditor. And so that's the next one, is auditor competencies. And so that's best practices and how to work well with the auditee. How to not let personalities get in the way of a good audit. You know, how to not let interruptions and conflict get in the way of a good audit. Yeah, so we always want to audit well, we want to audit fairly, we want to do a good job. So that's auditor competencies. And then finally, the audit process. And again, this is kind of looking at how to organize yourself well. So liaising, scheduling, have appropriate timing allocated. How about closing out non-conformities effectively, things like that. Good. This qualification is not a lead auditor qualification. A lead auditor qualification is a 5-day, so quite different to this 1 day. But bear in mind that all lead auditor qualifications are specific to a particular standard. So for example, the BRC lead auditor course, 3 out of the 5 days are dedicated specifically to understanding the standard that we are auditing against. So 2 days are then dedicated to all of this, yeah, to how to audit well. So it's not like we're comparing a 1-day course to a 5-day course. Here we're actually comparing a 1-day course to a 2 days dedicated to these aspects, to good auditing techniques, methods, and competencies. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, and that's not just that. That's not only the case for BRC lead auditor. I've been involved in other standards as well. If you did an ISO 9001 audit, again, the majority of the qualification would be against the standard 9001. My lead auditor qualification is against ISO 13485 for medical devices, and the bulk of that was against the standard. So it's true for all lead auditor courses. So this course is not a lead auditor course, okay? That I almost forgot where I was going with all of this. This course or this qualification will qualify you to conduct internal audits and supplier audits. So that's also known as first party and second party audits. If you were looking to be a lead auditor, that would qualify you to do third party audits. Yeah, okay. So who wants to do this? Yep, anyone wanting to audit, or consultants. Yeah, or anybody looking to broaden their horizon and further their career. So just to give you a taste, here are some further slides just showing you about the course content. All right, so here's the question of what do we audit against? We are actually auditing against a lot of things, a lot more than people initially think. Okay, you're not just picking up a procedure and auditing the procedure. You know, that is far too top level. So we want to bear in mind that we are auditing against good manufacturing practice, expectations. We are auditing against best practice. You as an internal auditor or a supplier auditor might see something and you might say, you know what, that complies with the procedure, but we're really not doing it well. We really could do that better. I've seen it better done in other better in other places, in other factories. So why don't we take their best practice? Why don't we use this audit as an opportunity for continuous improvement? Absolutely, we should. That's the purpose of an audit. It is a measure against a standard, and that standard doesn't only include the absolute bare minimum, it includes best practice. So yeah, let's use auditing as a tool for continuous improvement. We are also auditing against any applicable legislation, taking into account, of course, the scope of the audit. If you're doing a health and safety audit, there will be health and safety legislation. If you are doing a food audit against the food standard, you are auditing against the food standard, but also against any legislation applicable to that food product. Can you see where I'm going with this? So yes, it very much depends on the scope of your audit. If your audit is specifically about food safety, then you're not going to be paying any attention to legislation relating to health and safety because that's outside of the scope of your audit. But within the scope of your audit, we are definitely auditing against legislation, regulations, standards. Yeah, we're also auditing against any applicable industry guides. Yeah, for example, if you're a meat cutting plant or a slaughterhouse, you'd be auditing against the FSA's meat guide. You are also auditing against the site's own procedures. So even if you were conducting a supplier audit, and if the supplier has said that they do X, Y, and Z in their procedures, then you want to check that they are doing X, Y, and Z according to their own procedures. Yeah. You could be auditing against a certification standard. So you might be auditing your supplier. Perhaps they don't have BRC, but they do have ISO 22000. And so you might audit against ISO 22000, or perhaps you're auditing your supplier in order to raise their standard. So you're helping them with their continuous improvement, and you might help them to prepare for BRC certification, for example. So yeah, absolutely. It's auditing against relevant certification standards. And this is the one that I absolutely love, perceived risk. We are absolutely auditing against perceived risk. So again, while you're auditing, you might say, what I can see meets all the requirements on a surface level. Yeah. What I can see ticks the box against the procedures. What I can see ticks the box against the standard. But you know what? I really don't think it's a good idea having those labels that close to this line. You know, or I really don't think it's a great idea storing those chemicals so close to this open product. There's risk. I see risk. Yet again, this is your opportunity for improvement. You raise it. You raise it. You might not raise these things as non-conformities, as formal non-conformities, but you might absolutely raise them as recommendations or observations for improvement. Yeah. Unless you see real risk, then absolutely, yes, raise that as a non-conformity. Good. So that takes us on to another slide from the course where we talk about how to grade non-conformities in a fair manner. Yeah. Some of these are taken directly from the BRC standard, which is pretty good. And this isn't only BRC, this is also GFSI's method of grading non-conformities. However, what we've added here are observations and recommendations. Of course, you can't raise any observations or recommendations if you are a third-party auditor. Cannot consult. Yeah, it's another subject we talk about in this course. However, if you are doing first and second party audits, absolutely, you are part of making continuous improvement happen. You're part of it. You're part of the solution. Yeah. So you can absolutely drive continuous improvement forward through observations and recommendations. Just bear in mind, of course, that the auditee may choose not to act on it. So you've got to formalize it as one of these three if you need it acted upon. Yeah. Another slide that we include, this is just a tool for designing or planning your audit, is looking at what a process audit is. And so you might look at the process that you need to audit and say, okay, what are the inputs to this process and what are the outputs? Yeah. And in terms of other inputs, what kind of resources are required? Who supports this process? Who's involved? And how is it done? According to which procedures? Yeah. And so another output are the results or performance or test relating to the product or the service or whatever it is that you're auditing. So we talk about this in a bit more detail, just so that this can help you to structure and plan your audit and potentially prepare a list of questions, although you won't restrict yourself to those questions necessarily. It's a prompt. It's a prompt to help you do a really in-depth audit. We also talk about what are the main audit tools. Okay, so we also talk about the auditor competencies required to do a good audit. And I like this slide because it reminds us that it's not just all about us talking, and it's not just looking, but it's also, it's a combination of all three. It's also not just listening, but actually hearing. There's a difference, right? Yes. There's a difference. And so if we can communicate well, and if we are observant, and if we can ask the right kinds of questions, we're more likely to get the information we need. You cannot measure, you cannot audit well if you can't communicate well. So these are good things to talk about. The other thing we talk about when you can't be there in person is how we do remote auditing. So that's another hot topic at this point in time with COVID. I've done a number of remote audits for BRC, so third-party audits, and it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. I'm sure some of you who are listening today might also have been involved in remote audits, and you know it's a challenge. So we talk about some good tricks, good tips about making it work, still being able to conduct a fair and thorough audit, even if it is remote. Okay, so a little bit about the exam. The exam is online. and it can be completed on any device. So it could be done on your phone, it's quite easy, or on a laptop or an iPad. And I simply send through the link when everybody is ready to complete it at the end of the day. So once we've gone through all the course materials, you've had a little bit of time to do some revision, and we're all settled down and we're all ready to go, we complete it together through Zoom. So I can see the attendees completing it. And there are 25 questions and you get a whole hour, which is really plenty of time to pass. It's multiple choice, and you need 70% to pass, and you do get 3 attempts at that, and it also is open book, so you can refer to all the slides that you have to complete the exam. So the exam shouldn't be anything that worries anybody, not at all.
It's a brilliant course.
Sorry?
It's a brilliant course. I enjoyed it. I really did.
Steph, you did, and I was so glad that you enjoyed it. It's quite fun, I think.
Yes, but I also learned so much.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm so pleased. It's honestly, it's a course I can talk about with a smile on my face. It's genuine because it is an enjoyable course, and it's comprehensive.